Buddy, welcome back to the Glue Glue podcast with Kyle and Brish. First of all, mate, how's it going, mate? You all good?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, on the cusp of the World Cup.
Yeah, just 2 days out now from the World Cup. It's still very strange, but anyway. Football United TV says big up, peeps. Okay, we're here to talk about Ronaldo's interview with the Piers Morgan Uncensored. Now, Piers Morgan Uncensored is not a show I thought I would talk about on this podcast because it's normally it's normally about political stuff. But this week he had an interview with Ronaldo, which everyone knows in the world now. They really did drag this out. They could have just aired the whole thing on Monday, but they had to do
Oh, they absolutely could have. They
mm,
proper milked it for everything it's worth. There was no need for it
yeah.
to be over 2 days. I mean, the social media and everything just went absolutely ballistic with these little 1 minute clips they were putting out and the sound bites. I was happy to wait till the end to discuss it.
Yeah, 1 hour on Tuesday, 1 hour on Wednesday, or no, was it 1 hour on Wednesday, 1 hour on Thursday? Yeah, they really
Yeah,
dragged this out,
yeah,
and
yeah.
didn't even allow Garnacho to have his night. They could have, Ronaldo could have asked Piers Morgan to delay this for 24
But you
hours.
know how these things work, Carl. They time these things perfectly for maximum impact, don't they? It was similar when Mino Raiola was speaking about Pogba, and he actually gave the interview about 2 weeks before it aired. And when they aired it was what on the cusp of our Champions League encounter with Leipzig, and they did that, to maximize on it for maximum effect. And it's a similar sort of thing. Like this was the perfect time for them, just as United finished on 3 points going into the break, and boom.
Yeah, because I'd only finished recording this show about the Fulham game, and as soon as I, ended the show, all of a sudden breaking news about Ronaldo. That's just the way things happen when you're in this
Yeah,
business.
yeah, I had a similar experience actually because yeah, I was on a stream with James Dixon, big up James, and we were doing player ratings. So we pretty much just broke down and finished up the game talk against Fulham. Uh, Went away proper chuffed with that last minute winner and the 3 points. And then within about 15 minutes, all this stuff came out, and I'm kind of glad I missed it because yeah, I'd rather have focused on the positives last Sunday.
Definitely. Well, Solo Seven says, "Good evening. I'm still waiting on the punchline. The interview was bad. Yeah, we haven't even mentioned the fact that the how horrendous the interview was.
It wasn't much of an interview at all, was it, mate? I think it was
No,
heavily guided by Piers, and it was basically just a 90-minute PR exercise in him being Ronaldo's fluffer, is what I thought, for a lack of a better word.
yeah, yeah, because he wasn't challenged once in the interview.
No, no,
And it was typical kind of tabloid journalism where Piers
yeah.
Morgan was kind of egging him on to kind of insult people,
Yeah, and
setting
this
them
is
up.
a yeah, and also this is a person I don't usually agree with, but Simon Jordan made the point today that why wasn't he pressed on certain things? Why wasn't he made to call out names? Like when Piers had a lot of smoke for Meghan Markle in relation to members of the royal family being racist and that he wanted names. Where was that for Ronaldo? Why wasn't he asked specifically, like names to call out?
Yeah, he just simply wasn't willing to challenge his friend.
Yeah,
He's just happy to have the interview, basically.
yeah, pretty
Um,
much. That's the impression I got. Also, the other clear thing from the interview for me was that this is clearly a man who's struggling with mortality. He's
mhm.
struggling to come to age. He's come to terms with his age and where he is in his career. Ah,
Yeah, that was I was just about to get onto that. Yeah, my immediate takeaways from the 2 part interview is that Ronaldo is clearly used to getting special treatment for maybe 25, 30 years,
mm,
and Ten Hag's the first person not to treat him that way. Ten Hag treats him like he does everybody else. Ronaldo doesn't like it. Ronaldo is a massive egotist and narcissist is what he comes across here, and some of the things that he said. And yes, he is struggling to come to terms with the fact that his career is coming to an end. I predicted this, that he wouldn't um, settle down and accept his role as a squad player. That was never going to happen.
mm.
And he also comes across as a guy who's vulnerable and very emotionally immature, especially some of the insults that he dished out towards former teammates. He appeared to refer to Wayne Rooney as a rat, which I thought was a very, very strong statement. But we'll get into the specifics. What was your kind of short, in short, what was your takeaway from the whole
Uh,
thing?
Listen, I mean, I want to try and be balanced here. There were some points that he made which I agreed with. I don't think he told us anything new to us United fans who've been in this from the start. A lot of them were just home truths, really. Obviously, being that it's him, the spotlight is on him, and he's given this platform, and so the wider audience can see. And maybe that shed a light on some of the stuff with the Glazers for them. So that I think is a good thing. Yeah, overall, I thought it was an overreaction, to be fair, uh, regarding some of the stuff people were saying earlier in the week. Having seen the whole thing, I just thought it was a farce. It was just a PR exercise, wasn't it? Yeah, but we can get into the specifics though and break down each bit.
Yeah, but firstly, it's an unauthorized interview.
Hmm.
As a player, he's only supposed to give interviews to MUTV and rights holders. Um,
Mm.
like the BBC or Sky Sports or BT. He didn't tell anyone at the club that he's going to do this interview. Then he and he attacked the owners, which we don't have a problem with. The chief
Mm.
executive, the manager, teammates, former teammates. It was just totally out of this world. It's an interview that I've never seen before from a United player. You wouldn't expect. You might see this type of interview when someone's left the club for a while, but not someone who's a current player. Clearly, like I think we discussed already. Can't remember if it was on air or off air, but
Mm.
clearly the whole thing is a stunt by Ronaldo to get United to terminate his contract. That's my view, and I think that the view of a
Yeah,
lot of people.
I think it's most definitely a chess move. Yeah, I think this whole thing could have been avoided with better communication from all parties, if I'm being honest. Um, I think in the summer it was probably best to let him go. I'm not sure that the manager wanted him and or was part of his plans to begin with. So we don't know what Ronaldo was promised. We don't know what Ten Hag was promised. Ultimately, I think the decision to keep him, you know, like with all things with this club, are not football related primarily. I think they probably held on to him for marketing reasons, and it's come back to bite us now.
We see. I don't buy into this theory that Ronaldo is joined the anti-Glazer campaign. If Ronaldo was so annoyed about the Glazer ownership, he could have done this a year ago. He could have done this 10 years ago, 15 years ago. He don't care about any of that. He's just using that. Firstly, it's a great way to engineer a move out of the club by attacking the owners because he knows there's no way back once he does that. And secondly, he's just doing that to try and keep the fans on side, even though, given that he's went after the manager, and there's nobody I think he's attacked more in that interview than Ten Hag. Let me know
Like I
your thoughts,
say,
Kate.
yeah, like I say, it was the way in which Pierce orchestrated that entire interview. Like, there was definitely a narrative that he had in mind, and he kind of just steered Ronnie into that. Regarding the comments with the manager, obviously, yeah, I disagree with them totally. I think it's very unprofessional. As a player and a contracted employee of the club, you are expected to fulfill those duties, and that means coming on even for 2 minutes. So to refuse to do that, I think is totally out of order. There's absolutely no excuse for it. If I try and break it down from his perspective, the way he was saying it, um, from a personal point of view, I can understand why you'd be annoyed as an individual, but still, you have to remain professional.
The one thing I took away from talking about the Tottenham incident is that he doesn't appear to be remorseful at all about it. He said, first of all, he said he regretted it, and he said, "No, I'm not sure if I regret it or not. Do I regret it?"
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a very human thing. I think he does regret like the backlash and what's come of it, but he knew exactly what he was doing. Also, it was very strategic. Um, Yeah, it's one of those. Like as an individual, I understand it because I can be a bit stubborn at times. Like, listen, if a manager told me he hasn't brought me on for one game because he respects me too much to give me Mickey Mouse minutes, and then the following week he brings me on for that exact reason, I have every right to be annoyed. But then at the end of the day, you are still a paid employee. You have to fulfill your duty, which is whatever the manager says goes.
Do you think there has been several occasions where there's been a power play by the manager and Ronaldo in the course of the last 3 months?
Absolutely, and this is where I think there's been a big communication breakdown, and everyone, it should have been sorted out properly. It's the same thing with Wan-Bissaka. I think that the higher ups basically, so in the summertime, right, when Eric told them what he wanted to do, I think the higher ups sort of took it on the chin, but then also came to the conclusion that, oh, you know what, when the transfer window closes, it doesn't matter if we don't pay attention to everything that the manager says. He will just have to be forced to work with what he has. And then I think Eric, what he's done, he's clearly set out, and made an example of players who he doesn't think belong or deserve to be in his squad or system. And we've seen that with Wan-Bissaka, and it's the exact same thing with Ronaldo. They've pretty much been on the fringes. And this, I believe, is probably to force their hand in making a decision going forward.
Another thing, he told the club last Thursday that he was ill, and once he was told that he wasn't going to start in either the Villa Cup game or the Fulham game, but then he done this interview was apparently took place last Friday. He didn't look ill to me. So
yeah, and also the respect thing. Obviously, that was in the interview. It was referring specifically to the Man City Tottenham thing, right? But then you look at it on the other hand, you think, well, look at the way in which Ten Hag handled it. I thought he handled it quite well initially. The fact that he disciplined him, took him out of the firing line, set out that the rules were the same for everyone and no one's above it, but then also left the door open and brought him back in, and he was even captain. So
yeah,
the disrespect stuff, I mean, yeah, it sounds a bit wild, doesn't it, really?
yes, but just on the interest of balance, can you see where he's coming from when he says that Ten Hag didn't bring him on against Man City when we were getting beat quite heavily?
From a personal point of view, I can understand why he's disappointed. But then when you look at the changes the manager made, the manager brought on a striker who scored 2 goals. So what can you really say?
Yeah. But what I was going to say is he didn't bring him on against Man City out of respect, but then he wanted to bring him on for just a couple of minutes against Tottenham. Can you see the contradiction there from Ten Hag?
Yeah. No, absolutely. From a personal point of view, I can understand why he was annoyed.
Yeah, I can see. I can sympathize with him.
I can totally understand his frustration, and especially because, and this is why I think it's the higher ups that we need to be holding account, because they're responsible for this whole mess. And that's why I say that we don't know what Ten Hag was promised. We don't know what Ronaldo was promised. Maybe Ronaldo was told in the summer, listen, I know the new manager's coming, you might have some doubts, but no, you are very much going to be a part of the team. But then Eric had other ideas, maybe.
There's one thing that neither Ronaldo mentioned, which he's never going to, and Piers Morgan never mentioned. Ronaldo has played a few games this season, probably more than a few. He has been rubbish in those games for the most part. He's only got 3 goals, 2 of them against FC Sheriff. 1 was a penalty. United have a 70% win record without him, and only 25% win record with him in the team this season. Ronaldo has missed countless chances this season in so many league and Europa League games. But Piers and Cristiano, they still behave like he's the best player in the world. But what we've seen this season has been a million miles away from that. But that never gets mentioned by Ronaldo fanboys, Ronaldo and Piers Morgan.
I say, it was a PR exercise, wasn't it? Just to sort of massage his ego and stay on side. With regard to that, I will be fair to Ronnie. Obviously, he missed preseason. The way in which the team plays now is not suited to him. So it's no surprise to me that he looks out of place, and we're not getting the best out of him, and we're not going to. Also, with the chances missed in that, he's not covered himself in glory. The one thing I will say, that he's always been a high volume shooter. He's always needed a hell of a lot of chances to score. The difference is, in the past, teams have been built to cater to that, so he could afford to have those misses and still score. But now, at his age, the team is moving in a totally different direction, and we can't cater to that. So that's what it is.
Yeah, I think he's he's not done very well this season when he's on the pitch. So,
Mm.
and he's not
And I'll tell you what, Carl. I
accepting
mean,
that.
how many times this season have we sat here, mate, and we've said, you know what, it might be best that he goes in Jan, if not at the end of the season. Like we've had this discussion already, and I think this is just a chess move to maybe speed up that process to ensure that it happens. It's a very sad note to end on. But I mean, for me, it doesn't take away from his overall legacy. But this is very much a sour note in this moment in time.
Yeah, I would say it was probably a mistake for him to come back to United. From his point of view, he'd have been better going to City, and I would rather.
It's very easy to say in hindsight, isn't it? I think emotions are involved. United entered the bid really late. He had that conversation with Ferguson.
uh,
Um,
That's the thing. Uh, Fergie should stay out of team matters right now, or since he retired. There's been too
yeah.
much interference from Alex Ferguson.
But again, that goes down to our ownership and a lack of clear structure.
Yeah, and Ferguson wanted to stop him going to City, and the owners wanted the commercial signing,
Mm,
and Ollie had nothing to do with it.
hmm
He just, and I think this sped up Ollie's demise because
mm,
Ollie wanted to play a certain way. Obviously, he had to change his style and his approach once Ronaldo came in. It was all about him, all about accommodating Ronaldo. And even though Ronaldo succeeded last season, the team suffered. I mean, and it obviously put a lot of noses out of joint as well. Just
mm,
to give you some examples, obviously Harry Maguire then just became the captain in name only. Bruno Fernandes' output in terms of goals and assists dropped the way off. And we all know he doesn't tend to play well with Ronaldo. Then the likes of Mason Greenwood and Ronaldo didn't appear to get on very well. They're both very kind of selfish strikers, and they were
mm.
complaining about them each other not passing the ball to one another. So those are just kind of some examples of how Ronaldo upset the team. I think even at Juve, I think he did well as an individual, but the team suffered as a result, and that's just the way things are now with Ronaldo, unfortunately.
Yes, yes. But again, this again goes down to ownership and structure. Like you need to know the product that you're buying before you buy it. You can't buy it and then complain.
And Ten Hag has come in and clearly knew that Ronaldo wasn't
Like
going to fit into.
imagine buying a bottle of chili sauce and then complaining that it's spicy.
Yeah, and we know that you know Ronaldo can get a bit spicy if things are not going his way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the
I
hierarchy.
think with better communication, this could have been avoided. But it is what it is. Ultimately, I don't think this changes much for us. I think he's on the fringes anyway. I don't think this is enough to throw off the team balance or what we're currently building. If it is, then I'd question the mentality of what we are building because I don't think it's that fragile that it can be broken by an interview like this.
Yeah, the fact that the team are playing reasonably well and this has been going on in the background for
Mm.
3 or 4 months just shows that he is just on periphery now, isn't he? He's not.
Yeah,
He's not a first team player, and
yeah,
it's not.
exactly. And then the other thing that gives me a bit of confidence is that, a lot of the players who we writ off in the past who weren't up to scratch last year, this year under this manager, we're starting to get a tune out of
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about, but yeah, we'll just focus on Ronaldo.
them.
So what did you make of the insults directed at Rooney and Gary Neville?
All right. So the Rooney thing. Initially, yeah. So I didn't have a problem with it because it was not only was it a joke. If you actually the stuff regarding the appearance, I don't think Ronaldo was talking about his appearance at all. I think in the statement that he made, he was simply referring to the fact that he's still playing at his age and looking good, whereas the other guy has retired. Now, if you watch it back, it was Pierce's reaction which insinuated the looks and side of things regarding Rooney. So I actually don't have a problem with that. The rat comment again in context, it's a thing of he feels hurt.
Mm,
It's the fact
but
that he had this guy around at his house and invited his kid round to play and stuff, and then the next week you're in the media slandering me. Obviously, as a pundit, you should be able to speak freely on how you feel. So it's one of those. It's one of those where I can see both sides.
yeah, but I don't think Rooney was being spiteful. I've seen the interviews.
Mm.
He was just being honest. I mean, he did it further. He had an award ceremony last night, and he
But
did
we've
it. And
seen in the past though, Carl, especially with our pundits who are ex former players who are on TV, they have a tendency to protect their own, right? Like we've seen it with Ollie. So so I think
yeah,
maybe Ronnie was expecting the same kind of courtesy, especially considering that's his someone he considered friend, someone who he's had in his home. So I think that kind of thing probably threw him off a bit. That's probably why he felt hurt. Um, yeah,
yeah. You see, Ronaldo has a similar personality to Donald Trump. Some people might not thank me for that. And what I mean is, he's so sensitive to any wee tiny bit of criticism, and he expects an incredible level of loyalty from any of his colleagues and friends. And if they even give him one wee tiny bit of constructive criticism, then he disowns them. That's the type of that's Trump behavior.
mm,
I think it's so over the top. Rooney was only trying to make the point that, first of all, Ronaldo was being unprofessional by not coming on against Tottenham when he was asked to, and that's a fair point. He was also making the point that Father Time waits for no one, and Ronaldo just has to accept that. I don't see that as being unfair or over the top criticism from Rooney, and the idea that Rooney is jealous of his money and jealous of the fact that he's still playing. I don't buy into that. I just think Rooney was making a fair comment.
again, if you watch it back, it's the way in which Pierce structured that whole thing. It was contrived, I feel, to create
But
something out of nothing.
But Ronaldo has to be responsible for what he said in the interview. I understand what you mean.
Yeah,
Piers is a tabloid journalist who wants to
yeah.
extract
I mean, if
things
we're
out of.
talking about taking responsibility, he shouldn't have done the interview in the first place, should he? Really?
Yeah, well,
you,
that's
you, you
that's
know, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to understand who you're dealing with. The fact that you've decided to take this action and to go on that platform of all platforms and to speak to that person, and you know what he's about. So it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So
There's a
I've just been trying to take positives from it. I've been trying to make the best out of a bad situation, and yeah, and that's why I say the only good things are is to emphasize the glazes and the incompetencies of those that are high up in our club, and that's what I'd like to take away from it.
For me, the only positive is that he will now be moved on more quickly, and
Mm.
that was otherwise going to happen.
Yeah,
It
and
was.
I think that was the end goal of this anyway. I think that was a strategical chess move to facilitate that. If there was any reluctancy to let him go in Jan, I think this probably, was the insurance policy.
Yeah, and the thing that I was unhappy about the most is the criticism of Ten Hag and saying he doesn't respect Ten Hag because Ten Hag doesn't respect him.
Mm.
Um, that's totally unprecedented for a player to do this type of interview and say that about a manager.
It
Um,
is. It is. Also, with him, I don't know. I mean, listen, we can only take everyone's word, right? Like, because obviously Ten Hag gives his interviews and he speaks a certain way. How he speaks to Ronaldo behind the scenes, I don't know. I don't know what's promised to him. Maybe he tells him like something different, or that he'll be promised more of a role. I don't know. I don't know. But either way, at the end of the day, ultimately, it's unprofessional, isn't it? You don't speak out about your current current manager.
yeah, and what did you make of the criticism of Ralph Ranić? He must have been, he must have been. He said that
Listen,
he never heard of him.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
he must be sitting at home saying, "What the hell did I do? What are you coming after me for?"
Well, yeah, no, I thought it was funny because he called him the director, and I'll tell you what, he probably wasn't wrong, was he? In regarding that, I think
No.
we broke it down as well. Uh, over the course of the season, we broke it down because obviously, again, in our fan base, there's it's either it's 0 to 100 very quickly, isn't it? So there was those that were just ranting and raving, going, "Oh, this is Klopp and Tuchel's dad," whereas the more sensible ones were like, "Listen, this guy's been out of management for a very long time. He's not really a manager." The last time we remember him as a manager was probably when we played Schalke like 10 years ago. So it was one of those where we were hopeful of what he might potentially do upstairs at the end of the season. And that's what the emphasis was on. And obviously, we know what happened there, and that didn't work out, which again goes back to the Glazers and the incompetencies of our ownership.
Yeah, in hindsight, I think we massively overhyped Ralph Ranić last
And
December.
also, yeah, there was a lot of truth in what he was saying because obviously we were all confused by the 4-2-2 and that. And I think Ronnie touched on that. Sometimes these philosopher guys who think they really understand football, it's very difficult for them to implement their styles and systems and whatnot. And I think he gave up on what he was trying to do as well when he
He
realized he
did.
doesn't, when he didn't have the tools to do that. So yeah, some people try to reinvent the wheel, and he's one of those dudes.
And Ronaldo surprised a few people when he said that Ollie should have been given more time. Do you
Again, that
do you think that was a case of Ollie was a yes man? He played Ronaldo week in, week out, and Ronaldo was quite happy with that. Do you think that was about?
listen, all of these guys, we've talked about previous pundits and their relationship to the club. I have no doubt in my mind, Ronnie would have a lot of time and respect for Ollie from his time there the first time round. And so he's not going to be disrespectful to Ollie. So I think that's what it was. But yeah, I wouldn't pay that too much attention.
Well, when it comes to former teammates, he'll not be disrespectful to people who still kiss his ass, but he will be to people who even give him the
Mm,
slightest bit of criticism, like Gary Neville and Wayne Rooney. Yeah, Gary Neville kind of just laughed it off. The idea that he has something against Cristiano, he just thought that's ludicrous. There's no
mm.
way that I don't want Ronaldo to succeed at United. But Gary Neville was the one who was right when he was criticising him leaving the game early against Tottenham, and Roy Keane was wrong when he was trying to defend him. And I just couldn't believe that Roy Keane, of all people, was the one trying to
Uh,
clearly.
I could believe it, especially if you look back at the way he left the club.
Yeah, but that's slightly different. I
Yeah.
mean, Roy Keane was never as unprofessional as that.
Well, not that we know of,
Yeah.
because we didn't have the same social media back then. I'm sure
And,
Roy said a lot of things.
and Roy's interview was with the in-house TV channel. He
Yeah,
didn't go
exactly.
to.
It was never released. It was never released.
Yeah,
I was gutted about that. I was firmly behind Roy at the time, and I still am, to be fair, regarding that incident.
yeah. And IB says we stand with Ronaldo. We welcome all opinions on the show. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Listen, that's the thing. Like, even when Roy at the time, when he was speaking out, they felt it was really unprofessional that he was speaking about his colleagues the way he did. So I definitely see comparisons.
Yeah, but
And
it's
at the
just
time, really, if you think about it, Roy just expected certain standards, and when he saw those standards not being met, he felt a type of way about it, and he spoke out, and he was punished.
but he would have never refused to come on as a substitute. So him
No,
defending
no,
that is
no, no.
bizarre.
He wouldn't have. Yeah, he wouldn't have done that. He would not have done that. But yeah, but he was still an employee at the time of the club when he was speaking on other players and that, and standards dropping, and yeah.
We see the thing is that Roy Keane is that if he likes you, he likes you. If he
Mm,
likes you, he likes you. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And we've
yeah.
seen him go on record and say that the best manager he played under was Brian Clough. Like,
Mm. Well, I mean, do you not see the similarities with him and Ronaldo? Like, even to say that is a bit wild. And that's only because of the deteriorating relationship with Fergie.
yeah, and let's put that into perspective. Roy
Yeah,
Keane was relegated at Forest with Brian Clough.
yeah,
He won everything in the game with Alex Ferguson. So
mm.
that opinion is clearly personal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those, isn't it? It's one of those. But with Ronnie, though, the other thing that he said that I thought was quite interesting, obviously, how United have been left behind when he returned and he saw that things hadn't really changed from '09, and he said even Juventus were better equipped. I thought that was quite telling as well. So even he sees us as a bigger brand, a bigger club than them, but the fact that we've been left behind by the likes of them is quite telling.
Yeah, they only put in a new pool, a new jacuzzi this summer because Ronaldo complained about it. It seems. A new gym, I think, as well. Yes, it's true that Carrington has
Yeah,
been left behind, even
yeah.
behind the standards that Leicester have got over
Mm-hmm.
their training ground.
Well, I mean, we helped finance a lot of that, didn't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I'll tell you, I wanted to cry when I saw their state of the art facilities. I was like, oh, geez, I know where they got the money for that from.
we effectively bankrolled the whole thing.
Yeah.
Any other clubs want an upgrade to the training ground? Just come along and we'll provide the finances. yeah, he was surprised that a lot of things were the same as they were
Mm,
in 2009. But I mean, he's had international colleagues who play at United,
mm.
like Real Madrid teammates who went to United before him. Did none of them tell him that what was going on at United? And he's seen how poor United have been on the pitch since Fergie left. He can't tell me that he turned up in 2021 and didn't know that standards had dropped. I mean, come on.
I think it's one of those where you have to look at his situation. Like it was a toxic situation at Juventus. He was looking to leave, um, and then obviously the last minute offer came in, and he got caught up in the nostalgia and the phone call from Fergie. And yeah, I think so, on a certain level, I think he was surprised. I don't think he would have expected it to stay exactly the same since '09. You would just expect a club to move with the times. So yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that.
I said there was only one upside to him doing this interview, and that
Mm,
was it'll speed up the process of him leaving. But actually, there's another one:
mm.
the humiliation of the Glazers in this interview. Not
Yeah,
only the
that's the main
criticism
thing.
of the technology and the infrastructure, but also he called them out, by name as well, and said that they don't care
Yes.
about the club. Yeah, so they've been totally embarrassed here. So they'll be angry about this, and they'll want to get rid of him now.
Or
They'll.
you would think so. You would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that he said he's never had a conversation with him, they don't care. Yeah, yeah, that's brilliant. We love to hear that.
Yeah, but he's not doing this
Mm.
out of loyalty to the fans. This is
Oh
just,
no, no.
yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, more than one thing can be true, right? So yeah, I think it's multi-purpose, isn't it? So yeah.
yeah. He's doing this for his own selfish reasons. But yeah, if the Glazers are the collateral damage of this interview, then
Yeah, then
happy
happy
days.
days. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly where I'm at with it.
yeah. So, anything else in the interview that you want to pick up on and that we haven't discussed yet?
Uh, Obviously, with him being who he is, there is a lot of speculation all the time. There were some bits that I was compassionate about, especially regarding his family. I know in the summer there was a lot of speculation as well as to why he missed the preseason tour and that. And yeah, I do remember a lot of people questioning the validity of the health of his children and that can't be nice. So that was something that stood out to me. I can only take his word for it. It's one of those things.
Yeah, what happened to him this year on a personal level, you wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Yeah.
But he was accusing Ten Hag of a lack of empathy.
Mm.
Um, could that possibly be true? Or
So with this one, this is an interesting one. I was listening to that and I was thinking, is it a lack of empathy or is he just Dutch?
yeah, yeah.
Because if you think back to Van Gaal as well, the Dutch people they tend to be very straightforward and very blunt. Um, if you don't know any better, sometimes you might even think you might get slight autistic vibes. So yeah, yeah. So it might be that I think.
Yeah, yeah. I never even thought about that, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah. So no, because obviously I think things get lost in translation and communication is key. And yeah, sometimes the way Ten Hag comes across is a bit cold, like even in interviews. But I don't think that's like a lack. Well, I didn't perceive it to be a lack of empathy, but I think it's just a Dutch thing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's
Um,
there's no possible way that a human being couldn't show empathy towards another human being if they lost a child.
mm.
Particularly if you've had children yourself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and that kind of stuff, like that's not something I can fathom. So the psychological impact of that for anyone is going to be huge. Let alone when you're him, with the world's media and everyone knowing who you are and the scrutiny and attention on you. So that must have been difficult. So yeah.
Yeah, just like I was saying earlier, I think Ronaldo's problem with Ten Hag is, well, number one, he's not playing regularly, but
Mm,
number two, he's probably the first manager in his career that hasn't given him special treatment, that's just treating him like everyone else. And Ronaldo's just not used to that.
yeah.
And he's an egotist, so he doesn't take that very well.
And also,
Um,
yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because it's that ego and that attitude which has probably propelled him to the very top of the game. And he's been doing it for so long, and it must be difficult to deal with now that he's not that, you know?
yeah, I can empathize with him struggling psychologically with
Yeah.
coming to terms with his career
Hmm.
and winding down. But I cannot agree with him doing this interview with Piers Morgan. That's not the way to go about it.
Yeah. No.
Um, he should have kept it in house.
Yeah.
Um, it's he just well clearly what he's done is he's clearly he wants to engineer a move away from the club and speed up
Mm.
that process, and I think he'll get his way on that. Now we have heard today from the Athletic that United are exploring the possibility of terminating Ronaldo's contract and talking with lawyers over legal action. So even if United do sack him or terminate his contract, we might not have heard the end of this because United might try to sue him as well.
Yeah,
So pretty,
I've heard contradicting reports on the last bit. I've heard just after that they probably won't sue, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think some kind of mutual termination is probably the most likely outcome.
I think United would be happy not to sue him as long as he walks away without taking a payoff. Then
They'll have to come to some sort of agreement. I don't think United would want a long legal battle with him.
yeah, there's no way they're going to pay up his entire salary between now
No,
and the
no.
end of June.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
way.
they won't do that. They won't do that. So they'll come to some kind of mutual understanding. And honestly, I don't think, as crazy as it sounds, I don't think Ronaldo is money motivated at this moment in time. So I don't think he's gonna really argue over that.
Yeah, he's probably racked up a couple of million in fines this season already.
Yeah.
I would say. I wouldn't. I know I don't. I'm not responsible for Man United's finances, but
Mm,
in the circumstances, I wouldn't want to be giving him any money,
yeah.
even from a fan point of view. But maybe they'll give him a few million, and shake his hand, and let him go.
Yeah.
But they could. I would say
Because
the price.
usually with mutual terminations, they usually settle on about half
Yeah,
of the contract remaining. So yeah,
even that is a lot given the
I
wages
mean,
that he's on.
yeah, for him it's a lot. I think he was on a base of he was on 480 before, but because we didn't qualify for Champions League, that drops down to 360, which is still a hell of a lot. So yeah,
But if he's so desperate to leave, then surely he'll accept a low amount
yeah,
to leave early.
yeah, yeah. I guess we'll find out next month, won't we? Well, in Jan.
But they could, if they think they've got enough to go on legally, they could try
Mm.
and sack him and try not and pay him absolutely nothing.
And
But
knowing the
then,
Glazers, they might do that just so they can save a few quid.
yeah, but then if they do that, then Ronaldo might take legal action against them for unfair
Yeah.
dismissal, or
Yeah. And then it
and
could
then
be a really drawn out thing, which they'll try to avoid, which is why I think the likely outcome is that they'll reach a mutual agreement.
yeah, it would be better if they just come to an agreement
Yeah.
and let him go
Yeah. I think that's what's likely to happen.
quickly and efficiently without any
Hmm.
fuss.
Mm.
Because the last thing the club or him would want is a long, drawn out legal process that goes on
Yeah.
into halfway through next year.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Exactly.
yeah. So, is there anything else in the interview that I haven't covered yet that was
No,
interesting?
I think that pretty much sums it up, really, doesn't it? Like overall, it's yeah. Wish he didn't do it, but he has. And there was both good and bad that came out of the interview. Yeah. So the takeaway from it is ultimately Glazers out.
Yeah. He was more complimentary towards Messi in the interview than he was about United.
Oh,
And
listen, that end bit was shameless from Pierce. Trying to organize a dinner date between Ronaldo and Messi, and then trying to invite himself along. Ah, utterly shameless.
you know, it,
Listen, I
it,
hope they go on that dinner date, and I hope they don't invite him.
you know,
And then it'll be interesting to see if he turns on him like he did with Meghan Markle.
yeah, Piers Morgan is cringeworthy, isn't he? Absolutely. He's just,
Yeah, yeah.
um, he
Um, yeah.
and he,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna some of the overreaction though. Like even like the way the media have milked it this week, I have an issue with. Like even the other day, the little 10-12 second clip of Bruno Fernandes and him in the dressing room just greeting each other, and they made it out to be something it's not. And Bruno had to come out and clarify. So yeah, that kind of stuff I'm not with. There's a lot of misinformation and people running with it. The truth is often somewhere in the middle, and that's what I would like to conclude on. Really, absolutely, he's wrong. He should have remained professional, but let's also take away some of the positives because there are positives too.
Yeah, that reminds me. He mentioned several teammates who he believes have. He was talking about young footballers who
Yes,
don't have the right attitude, the winning mentality that
yes.
he has. He mentioned Casemiro, Martinez, and Dallo as
Mm,
being players who have the right attitude to
hmm
succeed at the top level in football. But he didn't mention Bruno Fernandes. I thought that was quite telling. Did you?
I can't say I really paid attention to that bit, because initially the question was geared towards younger players, wasn't it? So yeah, yeah. And then he mentioned Kaz, but then obviously we know Kaz is he's been there, done it. Yeah, no, I can't say I paid too much attention to that. Initially, the point he was making, I think, yeah, it referred to the likes of the Rashfords, the Sanchos, the Masons, and people that he probably tried to help and tutor. And yeah, it's a different generation now. Uh,
Yeah, he was saying that they should, they need to copy me if they're going to succeed. Again,
yeah,
that
you know what it is though, Carl. I think this happens with every generation, doesn't it? So when he was coming up, there would have been older players in the squad telling him things, and he probably wouldn't have paid attention.
yeah,
He's
he was
just become
saying,
he's just become that old man now. He's become the senior citizen.
yeah, he says it goes in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously it is a totally different generation, as every generation is. You have to deal with them differently.
Yeah,
I mean, because Fergie did it different, like from the days when he used to deal with Lee Sharp and Ryan Giggs to when he was dealing with the Rooneys and Ronaldos. It was very different, and he had to switch that up to deal with that generation. And yeah, I imagine it's different now. Some of what Ronnie's saying is very valid in that regard to young players. I know for me, when I first noticed the difference in this generation, it was when Raheem Sterling signed for Man City. They were showing him like going to sign the contract and stuff, and then I saw this guy. He had headphones on and he was on one of those hoverboards. And I just thought it was the wildest thing. I was like, what has happened? He was in skinny jeans with his headphones plugged in and on a hoverboard. And I just thought, yeah, this is madness.
yeah. Nobody sums up the current generation of footballers than Jesse Lingard, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah, the dancing, the TikToks, all of that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, uh, Bernard Media says he's a bit too arrogant and doesn't hold himself to account. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
A bit of delusion as well. But I
oh
think that,
yes,
yeah, I
yeah,
think that comes with the ego and the brand and everything else. It's very difficult for these people to accept.
yeah. I think he's delusional when he's accusing his former colleagues of being, jealous of the amount of
Yeah.
money and Instagram
Oh,
followers
but
he
in
has.
but in terms of that though, that Piers guided him to that.
Yeah, but he didn't say no, did he?
Well, yeah, yeah, but in that environment, it's one of those where you're not gonna. It's not an interview structured for you to be critically thinking. In the way in which those questions were put across to him. So it's one of those. So yeah,
Yeah,
take of that what you will, because honestly, like when Piers was talking about 500 million followers on Instagram and stuff, like what does that really mean?
he was asking, is his finances higher or lower than the number of followers he has? And
Yeah,
he's
see,
saying,
it was just a whole bunch of nonsense, wasn't it? He was just there to just massage his ego, and that. It's just, yeah. He
yeah,
was proper fanboying as well. It was quite shameless. Uh,
yeah. Well, he's done an interview with him before 3 years ago, and it was
yeah,
proper
yeah,
fanboying there too.
yeah. Oh, yeah. When he invited him to join Arsenal and that, yeah, it was madness.
Yeah. One thing's for sure. After all this, all the Ronaldo fanboys will be
Mm.
desperate for Ten Hag to not succeed at United. Piers Morgan the same.
That's crazy to me. That's crazy to
Now,
me. How
now,
can you support a club and not want us to succeed because
now,
of a singular player?
you see, there's a lot of people who just support Ronaldo. They don't support
Mm,
clubs. I don't
mm,
understand that. No, that's a new thing among the younger generations now.
mm.
I can't get my head around that. Who are you going to support whenever Ronaldo retires? You know what I
Yes,
mean?
it's madness. Oh, and I don't know where they find these people, Carl. I'm sure you saw it. There was one clip of some dude outside near Old Trafford that they found to interview, and he was saying, Ah,
Oh
well,
yes,
if Ronaldo's not there, then there's no point even watching United. I was like, well, what was this guy doing before last season?
and he wasn't a teenager. That guy, he was
No, no, he was
someone who's my age. You
he
know,
was he looked old. He looked old enough to know better. And he was just like, oh yeah, without Ronaldo, what's the point of even watching? I was like, ah. So who did you watch before last summer?
I know. Yeah, and have you been watching
It was
Ronaldo this
just
season?
proper,
You know,
proper strange. Yeah. And people like Piers as well. Like he would probably welcome Ronnie at Arsenal right now. And then, if you know anything about football and the way Arsenal play like that, it wouldn't work.
no.
If he
But
were to go there now, he would destroy the dynamic of what Arteta has built.
get him a one-way ticket to Heathrow, please.
Yeah, listen, let's make it happen. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. The most offensive thing I found in the interview is when Ronnie said that he wanted Arsenal to win the league.
Yeah, but he kind of backtracked on it a bit and said, "Oh,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you,
Well, if United don't win, yeah, but
yeah,
still,
yeah."
no. There's certain things you just don't say to me, especially the era that we grew up in. So yeah, never that,
But,
never that. I'm not
but
trying to hear that in any form.
well, doesn't that prove that he's all about himself and doesn't really care about Man United? That's been my
Uh,
long-held opinion.
no. See, this is the thing though. This is where we lose balance. Like I can't sit here and analyze how he does or doesn't love the team or the fans or whatever. Like everyone's individual, aren't they? I can only take people at their word. I think more than one thing can be true. I think he can have love for the fans, but also act in his own self-interest as well. And I think that's what's happened.
Yeah, but in Ronaldo's world, he comes first, yeah, and everything else is a distant second. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I
Interesting point by realist here. Let's all agree that he could have just do an IG live instead of this dead 90 minutes. We won't get back. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if he really wanted to just speak up, he could have just gone on IG, gone on his own platforms, and just spoke his mind instead of doing this kind of thing.
And he said, Realist also says he just don't want to come to terms with Father Time, catch up with everyone. Yeah, we
Yeah,
talked about
yeah.
that earlier. Yeah. Uh, and no matter how long the day is, night will always come. Sorry, but it's life, Ronaldo. Yeah, we've discussed that already.
Yeah,
He's
and I'll tell you
struggling.
what, that was my one takeaway from it as well, Carl. I think I worry for him when he retires. I don't think he's going to deal with retirement well.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to be fulfilling for
Mm,
him when he retires, he says he's going to walk away at 40.
yeah,
Is if he gets into management and find some fulfillment there, but we haven't seen
the
any
kind
moves
of
in that
person,
direction.
the kind of person he is. I don't know. I think he'll be a very volatile manager, very much like Roy Keane.
Mhm, yeah, yeah. I don't think management would work out for him. If I'm being
Yeah,
honest, so
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that would work out for him.
I just hope whenever you listen, I obviously quite annoyed with him right now. He's tainted his legacy in my view, but
Mm.
I wouldn't want to see him his life spiral out of control when he retires. Would
Yeah,
never
yeah.
would never want to see him go down the kind of the Gaza route or anything
Oh,
like that.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, I don't think he will, but it's just yeah, you can tell that he's so invested in this that yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't think it was in line with reality at the moment.
Yeah, and he Reyes also says he can't get into management. A player will beat him up. Yeah, I don't see him succeeding in management, but
Yeah.
who knows? Certain individuals have surprised me before with how things have turned out for them in management both
Mm,
ways. I
mm.
thought Roy Keane would be an excellent manager.
Same, same. I was so happy from in the early days at Sunderland. I actually thought, if he does well, oh, maybe he can, maybe he'd even have a future at United. Well, after Fergie retired, of course. Uh, yeah, maybe Fergie's influence probably would have stopped that from happening at any stage. But yeah, but yeah, then it just sort of went sour, didn't it?
Yeah, and certain people have surprised me with how good they've been as a
Mm.
manager. I would say even at this point, Ortada has exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's
Mm.
done well. He's done well. Not always, but yeah, you have to remember that this is his first job in management. It's kind of crazy to think about it that he
Yeah.
got the Arsenal job as his first ever job.
Probably just because he worked under Pep Guardiola for a few
Yeah, yeah,
seasons.
yeah. That and probably a connection to Arsenal as well because he spent a couple of years there. But yeah, mostly the Pep thing. I'll take it. Take that as the reason.
Yeah, so in terms of the Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo situation, the way I see it is that I think Samuel Luckhurst from the MEN, who's the chief writer for them about United, he
Mm,
was saying that there has been friction between them two for a long time. The way I see it is that I don't think they massively dislike each other, but I don't think
yeah,
they're best friends either. I think it's
yeah,
somewhere in
yeah,
between.
yeah. That's exactly it. I think that's what it is.
And I think Bruno will be delighted now that he's back on free kicks and penalty duties when we get back.
Talking of, I mean, I have no idea why he's been on. Why Ron's been on free kick duties. I really don't. He's scored
Uh,
like two in the last 100 and something.
it's be- it's because he thinks he runs the show basically,
Yeah, but the way he
and
steps up as well, the confidence and all that's still there. But I can't remember the last time the ball actually made it past the wall.
but look at his performances this season. He doesn't accept that he's playing badly, so he's not going to
Yeah,
accept that his free
yeah,
kicks are rubbish either.
yeah. Like for me, I always prefer a free kick taker who's a bit more finesse, who tests the keeper at the very least. So I loved One Matter, and now that he's gone, I'd give it to Ericsson.
Definitely.
Yeah, just whip it in around the wall. Just at least force the keeper into a save. That's the minimum I ask, and then it goes out for a corner. And we can work with that.
Yeah, I think Ronaldo is a disagreeable character, whereas Ericsson is an agreeable character, and that's why he doesn't take many free kicks.
Yeah, yeah,
So maybe now he'll get more of an opportunity, although I think
mm,
Bruno will still be looking to take some. Um,
yeah,
Now Bruno has missed his last two penalties for United, as
mm.
far as I can remember. So that is now an issue. So if everyone's fit and available, I would probably go with Martial if I'm honest to take the penalty kicks. What do you think?
Well, I think the key thing you said is fit and available.
Okay then.
so,
Okay.
so
um,
yeah, I'd probably elect someone else. But yeah, on that off chance they is fit and available, yeah, yeah, I think you're right.
yeah, I'm not sure about Bruno anymore. Although I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one who ends up taking them. But
Mm,
it's hard to know now. There's no real obvious candidate to take
yeah,
penalties.
Rashi's taken a few in the past as well.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean they've all missed more than
Yeah,
one penalty.
yeah.
Um,
Uh,
I never like Pogba taking them. Um,
no.
uh, I don't know Garnacho. I don't know. It's
Oh,
hard to
shout
say.
out to him, by the way,
Um,
our player of the month. Um, in all the nonsense that's happened this week, I think it's important that we acknowledge the good, positive things that are happening. And yeah,
yeah. By the way, yeah, every winner of the Player of the Month this season at Manchester United has been someone who's new to the first team squad this season. Now,
mm,
I was saying on the previous show that how often is it that we make five summer signings and they all hit the ground running, and Garnacho's come into the team as well. So
yeah,
like all the new players in the squad are having an impact and they've hit the ground running. That never happens, even in the
yeah.
Fergie days. So kudos to Ten Hag for that one.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the thing. This is the thing, and obviously, like even this, all the stuff that's happened this week has really divided a lot of fans. The ones that are against Ten Hag have, really criticised his managerial ability based on one or two things where he does need to improve. I'll give you that, like his late substitutions and things. But they've really gone in on him, and some of them just think he's, distinctly average, and I think that's wrong as well.
Yeah, you're going to see now every time we lose a game, Piers Morgan going, "I told you so." That
Oh
useless
yeah,
manager
yeah.
Ten
So
Hag.
Piers put out something today saying, "Oh, in inverted commas saying, oh, Ten Hag, a great manager. He's not a great manager. Ronaldo's played under other great managers, and I think he's making that differentiation between the
Yeah,
the real top
you
class managers, the ones who've won things. Uh
and he's saying that United are fifth in the table. They were a better team under
yeah,
Mourinho. He's
yeah.
only
It's
14
just
games in,
nonsense.
and
Yeah.
Mourinho finished sixth in his first season. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and oh, he's won nothing outside of Holland, and just
Yeah,
well, I mean,
but you know
has
what?
he been in a position? Has he been in a position to win anything? You need to give people opportunities.
Piers Morgan admitted on Talksport that he doesn't even watch Man United games. So
Well, there you go.
how is
There you
he
go.
qualified
Uh,
to
To, to,
critique
to,
Ten Hag?
to be honest, I don't know if that man watches Arsenal games because he wants Ronaldo up there. Like
I
if
would
you
love to see
see,
it now.
like, because if you see the role that Jesus plays, obviously he doesn't score as much as he should, but he offers so much more to that team than just goals. I don't see how you could put a Ronaldo in there and that would work. but apparently Piers thinks you can line him up next to
Well,
Ronaldo, and he can be a tapping guy. No.
it's not going to happen. The only club he's stupid enough in England to sign him now would be Chelsea.
Chelsea, yeah,
Yeah,
Chelsea would be the only ones.
because of the
Yeah,
owner, the eccentric owner.
yeah, because yeah. Also, I didn't he want to rebrand them as the London Cowboys?
I think surely that was a joke.
I hope it happens. I hope it happens.
I can only imagine the rage that would come out of the Chelsea
Yeah,
podcast
yeah.
after that one. So yeah, I think Ronaldo will be moved on pretty sharpishly.
Yeah,
And then because I just want to get rid of this circus and focus on the season now.
yeah, exactly. I mean, this was one of the things, right, that I was looking forward to, certainly with the end of the Pogba saga. You want these elements gone, and it just feels like it's that all over again. And yeah, the fact that with this one though, I don't think it's going to drag on too much longer, which is good. The end is near, so we are moving in the right direction. But yeah, I'm not going to totally dismiss some of the valid points that were made, and yeah, the emphasis needs to be on the structure and the owners. And I hope that Ten Hag is backed in Jan, because already, John Murtagh has come out and said, "Oh, don't expect much," and he's already dampened our expectations. So yeah, we need them to sort that stuff out.
Did you see that tweet last night? Somebody had watched Portugal beat Nigeria 4-0, and it was a great display without Ronaldo. By the way, another team
Yeah,
flourishing without Ronaldo.
I mean, listen,
No,
yeah, because to be honest, I looked at their World Cup squad, and I was just messing around making my 11, and I struggled to fit Ronaldo in there.
yeah, I even said during Euro 2021 that
Mm,
they would be a better team if Ronaldo was left out, but it's never going to
yeah,
happen. You know,
it's one of those. It's one of those, and I don't think it's disrespectful to say that. Like when you just live in reality.
yeah, and then somebody made a joke tweet saying that
Mm.
when Ten Hag sees the things that Felix is doing playing alongside Dallo and Bruno Fernandes, he'll be thinking. And somebody put like a 5-second clip of Chris Eubank saying, "Let's add a little more spice." And yeah, you said it yourself that Felix doesn't guarantee goals, but
No.
he would fit perfectly into Ten Hag's style of play, wouldn't he?
Yeah. The only concern I have with Yao Felix is the fact that he does tend to go missing. So between the fantastic, superb moments, he'll have a few weeks where he does nothing. So with the kind of fee that it would cost as well, it's something to consider. Because if you're paying 100 million plus, which they would want to recoup, people are going to have certain expectations of you, and you don't really get a chance to settle when you come for that kind of fee. So that would be my worry. My worry would be that if you sign him in a year's time, you might still think, do you know what? Yeah, he's actually not the focal point. We need to find a proper prolific goal scorer now.
But maybe even he will get goals, but maybe not as many as we want them to.
Yeah,
But maybe with him there being the Gabriel Jesus of the Man United team,
yeah.
we
That
will
that
score
could
more goals.
that could very much be it. Yeah, if we get a player like him, that's what I would expect. I would expect him to improve us as a team as a whole. So the goals will be more spread out. Maybe he won't be the guy that gets the goal or assist. Maybe he'll be the pre-assist guy, but he'll help make the team tick.
Yeah, and we saw how scintillating Portugal were last night without
Yeah,
Ronaldo. We all know Ronaldo's going to play in the World Cup,
yeah.
but I would put them in with a shout of winning it if Ronaldo didn't play.
Mm.
But knowing that he is going to play every game, I don't give them a prayer.
I tell you what, it's a very, very open World Cup. I honestly don't know what's going to
Yes, it
happen this
is.
time
Yeah.
around. I can, when I looked at the squads, there's about 6 or 7 teams whose first 11 look very decent, and then you got to factor in the climate and stuff as well, and how who's gonna adapt to that. Is that going to be a problem for some of the European clubs? I saw footage today of the England players struggling.
Yeah, they are going to struggle big time. I think
Yeah,
there's a real opportunity for Brazil and Argentina to be the first South American winner in 20 years here, I think.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I'm wondering if one of the African nations will surprise as well, and if they can get further into the competition.
we haven't really seen that since 1990, I don't think.
Yeah.
But let's see. If Ecuador lose the first game, I'm going to be very suspicious that there's a few brown envelopes have changed hands. Um,
Yeah. There's already rumors of that circulating.
yes,
There's
yeah,
there's rumors of that circulating. So we'll see. Yeah.
yeah,
Usually, I would say that host nations have a tendency to do well in the competition. I remember Japan and South Korea in '02 surprised a lot of people.
yeah. Yes, you're right. But even on that occasion, the South Korea's victory over Italy was marred in controversy.
Yes, it was. The officiating was horrendous.
Yeah, so if Qatar won the opening game, I'd be very suspicious, very,
Mm,
very,
hmm
because they're not a highly ranked international team,
mm,
and certainly not better than Ecuador on paper. So
yeah.
it'd be dodgy if that was if they won that game. And you say the strong rumors already of 8 Ecuador players have been paid sums in the
Yeah.
region of $7.4 million and all this.
Listen. It's eye watering money. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be watching that game very closely to see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you
um,
what. I mean, it's a bit unflattering as an opening game. I think I'm probably more looking forward to the ceremony than anything.
yeah, but Budweiser, who's one of the main sponsors, they're not allowed to
Mm,
sell their product at the stadiums now after paying
yeah.
75
Yeah.
million to FIFA. That's a messy situation.
That yeah. Again, it comes down to their incompetence, and that's something for another stream that we'll have to break down Sepp Blatter and
I know
all these.
this World Cup is a result of like the previous FIFA regime.
Mm,
They're the ones that
yeah.
got them into this mess.
Yeah. I mean, the
Um,
last one as well. The last one was in flipping Russia.
and I know, yeah. Look at the way that turned out. Let me
Yeah.
see. Realist was saying, I'm with Morgan. Naked Hotman's, Shin him Arsenal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, send him to Arsenal. Yeah. I think he's referring to Ronaldo. Piers Morgan.
Yeah, happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would ruin
Yeah.
Arsenal. So happy days.
Yeah.
He should go there. It's hard to carry Ronaldo in this day and age of football with everyone pressing and defending from the front. Yeah, he's yeah. The days of the number 9 just standing there waiting for the ball to come to him are over.
Yeah.
There's not many managers who do that anymore. Certainly not at the top level. So yeah, Ronaldo,
Mm.
that and the fact that he's nearly 38, he's struggling now.
Yeah.
And
You have to move accordingly. So either you need to drop down, uh, not
yeah,
divisions but leagues. Like you need to leave like the top European leagues and go somewhere else, or you need to accept age like Zlatan, where he understands that he can have a big influence but doesn't have to play week in week out for 90 minutes.
yeah, Ronaldo should have stayed in Serie A. That was the perfect home for
Mm.
him at his age.
Yeah, it really was. It
You know,
it really was.
he should have moved to Roma or something. Because there's so many veterans who flourish in Serie A and extended
Yeah,
careers. Ashley Young's had a great career. He went out there in his mid 30s and won Serie A, came
yeah,
back. He's starting games for Aston Villa.
yeah,
He's had a wonderful career.
yeah.
Um,
Oliver Giroud is doing wonderful things for Milan, and he's what 35.
yeah,
Zlatan, I think, is 41 now.
yeah. That would be. I don't know how well Mourinho and Ronaldo get on, but that would be
Yeah.
the perfect home for him if he went to Roma if they wanted him. But he's going to have to take a pay cut, that's for sure. But do you
Oh
know what?
yeah.
I don't really care where he goes. I just want to see him leave United
You
now,
just
so
want
we
to
can
see
get
this. You just want to see this come to a conclusion. Yeah,
so we can
yeah.
move
Fortunately, I
on.
don't think we have to wait too much longer, to be honest. So yeah, it is what it is.
We could be hours or even days away from the announcement from the club now about his
Mm,
termination.
mm,
Realist
mm.
says, now I see why Brish is here, Roma with that dead football.
He's got yeah. So I have a tendency to watch Serie A games, and it just so happens that most of the time when I tune in, Roma play. Realist just has an issue with the way Roma play football because Jose is very much anti-football.
You did you grow up in the generation where Serie A was on Channel 4?
Oh, yes, Football
Y-
Italia. I grew up on
yeah.
Football Italia, which is probably why I have a fondness for Serie A, even though it's very different to how it was when we grew up. Um, yeah, because
James
growing up,
Richardson, the host of that
yeah,
show, yeah,
yes,
Susana
he
must have
was
it.
the
Yeah.
one. Yes. So when I was growing up, that was the best league.
Uh, yeah, it was, and they won a lot of European Cups in the
Yeah,
90s
all
and
the
early
best players,
noughties.
all the best players were there. I was watching I don't know if you've seen the Ronaldo documentary that's currently on BBC iPlayer. Fenomeno, number 9, R9 Ronaldo.
R9 Ronaldo,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
there's a documentary on him. And yeah, it just brought back all those nostalgic feelings of watching Serie A.
yeah, and R9 is now my favorite Ronaldo.
But yeah, that one it's up on BBC iPlayer. It's well worth checking out actually. They could do a part 2 and 3 to that. I mean, it was 90 minutes, but you wouldn't know it the way it just flowed through, and it kind of just followed his journey from '98 to that World Cup redemption in '02.
Yeah, with the worst haircut of all time.
Yeah, but there was a reason behind that though. There was a reason behind that. He did that to distract from all the injury speculation, and it worked.
It did. It had all the youngsters around the world copying that haircut as well.
That was crazy. I wasn't expecting that.
Okay, we'll leave it there. It seems as if Ronaldo is going to be moving on from United in the very near future. If everyone could
Yeah,
please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts down below. And I will see you again then, Brush, probably next week.
yeah. Take care, guys.
Okay, see you later.